content today. As usual, like I said, my colleague Jess will be answering all your questions. So we want to make sure that our community is supporting each other. So pop on into the chat. Don't be shy. Let us know where you're coming from, where in the country you are, what kind of business you're in right now, and what kind of social media goals you're working on. And let's really get to know each other on these webinars today. First and foremost, as we are waiting for the last few people to trickle on in here, I want to make sure that you guys are ready to go with these tips when this webinar is over. Because remember, right after we learn something is really going to be the best time to stay motivated and make sure we're making some great strides in tailoring these tips to get your own social media strategy rocking and rolling. So here you go. If you don't have a MeetEdgar, be sure to snag this coupon code here, Octopus Webinar 18, and you can actually sign up and get a free month of Edgar to test him out and get all of these great tips going with your social media strategy. If you have an Edgar account, or if you're wondering what's going on in Edgar these days, be sure to check out our newest features. You can tag Facebook pages again. Yes, Facebook allows third-party apps like MeetEdgar to now tag pages again. So pop on in there and start to tag your pages if you haven't yet. It's super simple. You'll just type in that @ symbol and type in the name of the page you're trying to tag, and Edgar will automatically pop those up for you. If you also haven't tried our newest Twitter variation feature yet, be sure when you're adding content to notice that add variation feature button in the bottom left-hand corner, and it's a great option for you guys to still share your evergreen content out to Twitter and stay in line with those terms of service saying you're not allowed to send that same tweet to a Twitter account more than once. So some cool new features. If you haven't had an Edgar account yet, be sure to snag a free month there, and we will hop on in to get started today. So this webinar is really going to focus on the question that might linger in your head, thinking, should I post the same update to all my social media channels? And I don't know about you, but when questions like this come about on what to do with social media, it can lead to a bit of a paralysis. And we may end up posting nothing at all if we're not sure about these answers. And this is going to be your worst strategy out there. Because remember, no status update is going to be the worst update there is. People are there on your pages to learn about your business and to really connect with you. So we're going to get clear on the answers to this today to remove that little voice in the back of your head and give you that confidence that posting things on social media is worth your time, and tailoring them to each social media norms is going to make it even better. So the answer to this question is you can, but you probably shouldn't. Each network, again, does have its own norms built into it, and we want to respect those norms so that we can make sure we're directly communicating with our followers and our audience in the most effective way. So think of it this way. You might tell your friend a story. You might tell your coworker that same story, and you might tell your mom a different story about this incident over the phone. In all of these situations, your language and your tone and your length is going to be a little bit different depending upon who you're talking to here. You know, your mom might not respond to the same details your friend might, and you might tell your coworker a more buttoned up version of the story. So think of these people kind of like social media channels. They are there for different things, but it's important for each one of them to know your message and get that message across for them. And that's what tailoring your content is really about. Not everyone was there at the time of your story, and they do deserve to be heard. So we don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel each time you're telling this story, but some simple tips and tricks can really ensure that your message is received with and engaged with, more importantly, on each platform. So remember, tailoring your updates for each network doesn't mean you have to be 100% unique. You can reuse these same concepts, and just writing something for a tweet might be a little bit different than a Facebook message. And that's what we'll explore a little bit further here. So think about the different tones of the ways you're talking to people, and know that you can bring those into your social media strategy. Before we get any further, though, let's remember one thing. The thing that really defines your brand should stay consistent from place to place. So make sure you are checking your tone, your language, your brand values, and your voice, and make sure that all of these aesthetics are really working together so that when people get to your pages or get to your site from your status updates, they have that consistent experience and your brand voice and tone are coming across the same each time. We have a great webinar and a lot of great blog posts on developing a style guide and brand voices, and how important color and consistency is. So check those out if you haven't yet on our webinar channel or on the MeetEdgar blog. So once your style guide is set up and you kind of have an idea of what you're going to keep consistent, it's time to think first what social networks you should be on. And having a clear strategy on what to post on each of them is really going to start out on this why you're on each of these networks. Finding that why can really give you a great sense of ability to track your engagement, to see what's working with your audience, what they're most interested in, and so that you can really start to have some motivation behind your entire strategy. So if you've never used this before, we'll chat really quickly about something that's helpful called the 5 why methods. And this is a super simple technique that'll help you get to the heart of why you should even be on each social network to help you support your marketing goals a little bit further. So let's say we're social media consultants and do this exercise really quickly. We'll start by asking the most simple version of this question. Why do you want your brand to be on Twitter, let's say? And this is going to lead to a simple answer that you want to grow your business faster. Simple enough. Take that further to the next why. Why do you want to grow your business faster? Your answer might be that you'd like to make more money for your business. Cool. Let's go a step further. Why do you want to make good money for your business? So that you can get out of debt and stop worrying about the money so much when it comes to looking at your business. All right, why do you want to get out of debt and stop worrying about money? So you can feel less stressed and you can actually enjoy building your business. Why do you want to feel less stressed and actually enjoy building your business? Because right now it just feels so hard and I feel like I'm constantly grasping at straws and I have no idea what to do. I wish I could just have an easy button that I could push to grow my business, something that I know works. Cool. So with these 5 whys, we've now just uncovered the real reason you want to be on Twitter. You want to grow your business faster so that you can enjoy building your business and not have to just be on social media all the time and market all the time. So this is going to lead to something that you can now see as your Twitter account focusing on lead generation and driving more people to your sales page. And your content marketing will be a little bit different now that you have this in mind. So if you go through this exercise and you come to the answer maybe that you just need more community or more brand awareness, it might lead you down the road that you think, maybe Instagram or something like that will support these goals better. Or maybe sharing quotes more than just links leading to my sales funnel will be a better match for me. So having this in place and having your why down can really make sure that your efforts fit into your larger business goals. And social media is really here to build your business and community. And if you have a product or service that's going to help to solve someone's pain points, there's no reason that you shouldn't go through this why exercise to discover how each social network can really support that. So I definitely encourage you super quickly to go through and find the right social network and the reason you're on each social network first and foremost. Cool. So it is also going to depend on 2 main things when you are going about this evaluation process. And it's really going to be about which social networks you will use and which social networks your audience is going to use. So just trying to start out everywhere and be on every social network is an easy way to spread yourself too thin. So when we're talking about tailoring your content, again, think about not spreading yourself too thin, but creating quality content for each of these networks. So I don't want you to take on too much too fast when you are going through these why concepts. We want you to learn and implement them one at a time and focus on the one that has the highest return on investment for you and your business. And then think about ditching what's not working on each network. And as you spend more time on these sites and you develop your strategy to support your entire marketing goals on social media, you'll see which ones mesh best with you and your audience. And those are the ones that's worth tailoring your content for in the long run. One way you can do this is by making sure that you prove to your readers you get what they're going through too. So our biggest advice at Edgar is rather than being on all the channels at once, posting the same thing all the time, is to listen to each channel, to listen to people on each social network and make your followers feel heard with the content you're putting out there. Make it more of a conversation and keep the social in social media. This will really help them feel understood and they'll trust and like you so much more. And that'll lead to them sticking around, following you, and that'll give you more time to draw them in, reading more of your content, connecting with them more and more. And that gives you a greater opportunity to have them trust you to sign up for an email list, to buy that product or whatever your goal or service may be. And I know you might be thinking here, Megan, And we're talking about an automation service like MeetEdgar. Why am I now going to have to create more and more content for each network? Great point. But keep in mind that it's much easier to be able to tailor your content and have this robust posting schedule if you have a plan and an automation service like Edgar. So, say you're going to plan out a content strategy so that you can post nice, robust updates throughout the day and throughout the week, like one over here on the right of your screen. It doesn't mean that you can't repurpose each of these and still share the same content calendar, just with little tweaks. So, we're going to focus on how each update can be helpful and relevant and engaging your community so that each different social network that it's posted on gets the engagement that it deserves. And we don't want to have to so having this kind of strategy built out with a calendar like Edgar, with a library, even just doing it on a spreadsheet, it will really help you identify each social network that you can tweak these updates for. And you might be posting dozens of updates a week. So writing them from scratch each time really is a full-time job. So we'll talk a little bit about how to recycle these through Edgar as well, so you're not reinventing the wheel each time. Cool. So going a little bit further here, think about planning ahead. The second part of your strategy before tailoring your content is going to be making sure you're loading up all the evergreen content and links you want to use into your library. I suggest creating custom categories. Some of our clients will even create a holding category in MeetEdgar where you can load up all of the links that you're looking to share throughout the week into a category so you can see them right there. And then you can start pulling them out and categorizing them into tailoring tips for Twitter and tailoring them for Facebook and LinkedIn. And it makes it easy to have your whole overarching strategy with your evergreen links and then sort those into the category specifics. If you have an Edgar account and you want help setting this up, definitely let us know. Support@meetedgar.com, and we are more than happy to guide you through that setup process as well. And thinking further, the content you're creating for each network too should be focused and targeted on what your audience's interests are on each network. So I want you also to remember you can go into your Facebook insights and your Twitter analytics and pull out a lot of demographic information, like who your audience is on Facebook versus who they are on Twitter. So look at this information when they're online, so you can start then taking your categories you've set up in Edgar and scheduling them at the appropriate time and the appropriate language to match who is on each network. So definitely jump in and do that so you can use all of this to inform your updates and have a solid plan. So one thing that I do also want you to remember is that everything you're sharing on social media really should be targeted towards opening up a discussion. At risk of making you all too hungry here today, I found this awesome post from Nutella that does this in a great way. You can see it's tailored specifically for Facebook in the way that they're using the emojis that match your Facebook reactions here. But it's also asking that question, which face is your favorite? So every update, no matter what network you're putting out on, make sure you're thinking, will this open up a dialogue and create content that's really going to be so great for creating discussions with your followers? Going a little bit further here, let's look at kind of some of the tweets versus Facebook posts that we can do with blogs posts specifically. As you do start to gather ideas for your evergreen content, that's stuff that's going to provide value to your members, no matter what time of year that they're seeing it. We want to really make sure that we're looking at how each of these is supported in a tweet as well. So this is a great example of using Twitter cards. You can see here that a Twitter card will automatically generate an image for you, as well as a title and description. And when you're looking at the image and title and description, you can look then up at your status update and think, what's missing from this title and description? What can I add in my own voice? So take the whole tweet into account when you're crafting it and know what's going to show up when you're sharing that link. If you don't have Twitter cards set up, super simple process of just going to the Twitter card validator. Again, if you're not sure how to do this, we have a great webinar on it, or email support@meetedgar.com, and we can really help you set that up. So the same piece of content then shared on Facebook, you can see we have the opportunity to provide quite a bit more in the actual status update here. And the value of this is that not everyone is going to be sitting at their computer at a time when they can click on your link and have time to read an entire blog post. So providing some of the value in the actual update is a great way to experiment and see, Will people actually get value by just reading this and not having to be directed to read an entire blog post? So Facebook is a great way that you can then tailor this content to give value right there. So think about different ways you can play around with introducing blog posts on each network there. Going into too many network specifics, let's take a look at one more difference here. You can see here again, we're supporting this tweet that we're sharing to our blog. One of our biggest goals at MeetEdgar with sharing our blog posts is educating our community on different social media and different marketing techniques. And from this one post, you can get a really great curiosity into thinking, what is the trick that they learned here? But also get that continuity in our title and description on the Twitter card here, giving you a little bit more information without having to take up those valuable characters in your tweet. So think again how all of this is working together when you are sharing blog posts there. And that same article shared on LinkedIn might need to have more of a business tone with it. And you can see here when we're sharing this update on LinkedIn, we're sharing way more numbers and data, and it might speak to our LinkedIn community more than it would to our Twitter community, having this more industry specific data right there in the update. And you can see also when you're sharing links on LinkedIn, they might appear differently than your Twitter card would. So here we don't have the actual description set up for this blog post when shared on LinkedIn. So we need to add a little bit more value in the actual update itself. So make sure when you're looking at your social networks, you know exactly how your links are going to be shared, whether it's a Twitter card, just a link, however you have your small or large preview set up, so you know how your status update can then support that. Cool. So let's jump in now to some specifics here. And we'll start with Twitter. Having a solid plan for the why behind building your following, what we talked about, can really help us speak right into the tone of each community. Your Twitter feed is a great place to show off your personality. A common mistake a lot of us are going to make when we're tweeting links is that we're only tweeting things about products or deals if we're doing it for our business. But think about what you do in your own personal Twitter accounts. You're not boring. You're showing your personality and you're getting in touch with your community. So we'd love for you to take on this approach in the same way for your tweets on your business. That doesn't mean you should never post about your product updates on Twitter, of course, but it really is the best place to share genuine and really personal, short and sweet content with your followers. And tone is going to be so huge on Twitter. It doesn't mean that you can only post your touchy-feely humanized stuff. There's just scientific reasons behind why people share certain things on social media. And the more we understand this, the more strategic we can be with our posting. So on Twitter, make sure you're keeping your tone nice and casual. It's going to feel really weird to do a super formal tweet. One way I like to think about this is it's kind of like water cooler chat. If you're standing around a water cooler, super weird if you're talking in a formal tone all the time to your colleagues and coworkers. So the same thing with your tweets. Think about how you can really support your tone to be kind of a quick, short and sweet, personable water cooler chat. And some things that you really want to make sure is you're creating that unique content on Twitter that's going to inspire people to share it and inspire people to learn and think of your brand as an expert in your industry. So great place to start if you're not super active on Twitter and you're wondering what to post there is news articles. It's a very timely network. Questions, it's a very chatty network. Blog posts, of course, more and more free content creation showing the value you're going to offer your audience. Quotes are huge. Inspiration does really well on Twitter. And GIFs are a part of the culture on Twitter hugely as well. And don't forget network specifics like being able to @mention people on Twitter is a great way to get in touch with influencers or show your gratitude towards someone who might have said something nice about your community. So think again, it's a fast-paced moving network, a casual tone, and people do engage with brands on Twitter. So ask your questions and make sure people are getting the news that your brand can share. Keep visuals in mind for Twitter as well. When we're looking at Twitter, this is straight from the Twitter blog that 36% of marketers predicted they would spend over 31% of their marketing budgets on just visual content. So if you're not posting visual stuff on Twitter, you're really missing out. And it's not something that you do have to be a graphic designer in order to do. There are a ton of really awesome apps out there like Canva that will do the heavy lifting for you to produce these awesome images. You can see over here on the left, Marie Farley portfolio does a great job in having a simple quote show up in her Twitter feed. And this did not have to come from a huge designer. So think about the images you're sharing. It's hugely visual network like the others. And don't get too bogged down in the fact if you're not a designer. Look out there for free platforms that'll help you generate this visual content for Twitter. And visuals are huge, huge, huge to grab people's attention quickly too. Look at this awesome update from MailChimp. They've tailored it to Twitter to be a really short status update, but you're going to stop in your feed to look at this, and even a simple smile this brings to your face is going to really support the MailChimp brand, because you now have a positive emotional association with their brand just from this one visual that they were able to share on Twitter. And it really shows off their brand's personality as well, that they are someone who is so, that they are people who are so approachable in this way. So think about how images can make you more approachable, as well as make people kind of stop in their tracks in their Twitter feed. Other people's content is the next thing we'll chat about for Twitter. Other people's content is huge on Twitter because it not only really helps you position yourself as an expert in your industry, it's also going to support this idea that you're being selfless on social media, which helps you really keep your feed reader centric. And thinking about what your audience wants and needs and pain points are is really going to help you guide your content creation well. So how are your blog posts and your videos and your infographics really supporting your readers is the first thing that other people's content can help provide you. And your readers are going to see you as a resource for really valuable information if you're sharing other people's content on a consistent basis. And this is hugely important for not being boring in your feeds too. Think about how much junk is floating out there in internet land and how much interesting stuff you'd never get to read if no one recommended it to you. So this is a great way to be recommending articles to your followers. And that's why your followers then don't have to go through the trouble of finding it on their own. They know that you're going to be a trusted source to provide it to them. So while you're sharing other people's content, it doesn't have an immediate benefit for your brand. It has an immediate benefit for your followers, though. And putting their interests first is a great way to be able to retain them for your business and really in the future have them continue to follow you because they know that information you're giving them is going to be relevant and the best in the industry. Cool. So going a little bit further here, let's look at this awesome update from Wistia. It not only has a great visual that kind of grabs us, it's also going to be a great way to have a product announcement show up on Twitter. So it's not only about getting new leads in, of course, it's about nurturing your current community as well. So while you might have that why behind your Twitter feed of driving more lead generation and getting more people to know about your brand, be sure not to neglect your community on Twitter. Tell them about your product releases and research the things that they want to know about. So I think Wistia does a really great job here, again, providing a visual as well as getting some excitement out there saying, hey, you know what this product update is for? It's for your inspiration, something you might be struggling with. They've researched their community and know that they're supporting a community who wants creative inspiration. So think about your product announcements and how visuals as well as language can really be married together in order to speak right to your Twitter community when doing product announcements. Cool. So on Twitter especially, we want to make sure that we are piquing people's curiosity enough that they are compelled to click on our links. Trello does an awesome job here. Not only do they have a fun, alliterative update, status update here, they're also using this little word trickery, which kind of piques your interest, thinking, what trickery do they have? And it'll compel you to want to close that knowledge gap, click on it, and get those same sort of benefits. Going a little bit further on this specific update for Twitter, think about that @ mention right there, connecting and really personalizing the brand, showing, hey, there's a real human behind this, sharing content that they know about, sharing experiences that they know about that'll help you. So again, tagging people, giving them the option to see who is behind each one on Twitter is a great way to build community there. Going right along with creating community here, we want to make sure that you're always creating a shared experience when you're thinking about status updates here. So you can see here when you're looking about what Rebecca tweeted, she's making a community out of saying, we all have marketing challenges. And she's going ahead and giving some statistics that support that and asking a question. So this is really a multifaceted tweet that is tailored perfectly not only to her audience, but also to what works well on Twitter. Again, again, we said status updates with visuals get noticed more. A hashtag is searchable, this marketing hashtag. I'm sure a ton of people are searching for marketing tips on Twitter with it. So she's adding the benefit in right there for her as well. And again, creating a question in there so people are responding and she's getting to know and have a direct conversation. So be sure you're thinking about ways you can present your information in really creative and really eye-catching ways to create that great community on Twitter. Going further with community, Twitter is one of the best networks you can tailor your conversations in something called Twitter chats. And this is actually some philosophy and a pretty established thing a lot of companies are doing. It's setting a specific time when you will be online talking with your followers. In this specific update, our awesome marketing advocate, Nancy, is actually joining this Twitter chat to be able to talk a little bit about social media live. And this is a great way you can have an actual dialogue. Because remember, keeping social and social media is going to be one of the biggest things you want to do. And one-sided conversations on Twitter are a little bit boring. So think about the ways that you can jump in here and invite people to talk to you with Twitter chats. Doing something like this is a live thing where you have to be on Twitter, obviously, to answer your followers' questions. But doing this with an automation tool like Edgar is really great because you can schedule tweets leading up to this chat in order to get people excited. So schedule questions on what you want them to start thinking about so they have questions and topics ready to chat with you. And make sure you're scheduling your tweets in order to let them know when it's happening and remind them of when it's happening because people probably aren't visiting your Twitter page every day. So having those reminders show up in their feed will be like, oh yeah, this was a chat I wanted to attend. So it's a great way to go ahead and marry automation in order to get those questions and reminders out there and then be on there for your live engagement when the Twitter chat happens. Twitter is also a really great way to stay up to date on things that are happening now. Its algorithm really favors news and really favors trends that are happening in the news at that current time. So not everything that's going on in the news is really going to be related to your brand, of course. So you want to get creative on Twitter, especially for how you can join in the discussion in a really timely way. DiGiorno Pizza does this awesome, obviously, here. National Lipstick Day has nothing really to do with pizza, but look how creative they could get in being able to join in that discussion and be able to have something that's going to really produce that happy emotion for you, as well as staying top of mind when it shows up in your Twitter feed. So go out there and research different calendars that have these funny days on them and add them to your Edgar library with send out specific date options there so that these are going out and you're still being able to be really relevant on Twitter and connect with your community. Cool. So one thing about Twitter too, it does have a 280 character limit, as you all know. I want you all to kind of think about this a lot too, that sometimes 280 characters does not have to be used in order to get your point across. And this really comes out of the fact that so many people on Twitter are used to just getting that quick 140 character update. So think hard about how you can pare down your updates still so that you're not overwhelming people, but still use that 280 character limit when it makes sense. A great example of this here is this webinar example from Andrew and Pete, who are awesome Twitter experts. So you can see here in their update that they've gone ahead and used some of their extra characters to create some line breaks, as well as adding in some emojis here. So you're getting all of that awesome information, but it's not in a 280 character paragraph. That's going to be a little bit of a sludge to read all the way through. It's broken up well, it's got character, it's got a really conversational tone. And then to sneak in a few more characters past that 280 limit, they've created this graphic, which gives the information on the when and what as well. So think about how you can use these graphics in order to support the information you want to give. Again, not having to have a paragraph 280 character come up that people might not find as easy to read. So think about creating that so you can get all of that information out there. This same update you can then see on Facebook if it's shared. They're going to approach it a little bit differently. So on Facebook, you do have the room in order to produce a lot more characters and a lot more information right in your status update. But again, same concept here applies. When you're doing this, I want you to think, no one's going to want to read a block of text on social media. So the ways they're getting their information out there is by using symbols like the arrow symbol in order to show the bullet points. Again, using emojis to have those line breaks and stuff like that. So think about how you can tailor this in order for people to really know on each social network exactly what they're going to get when they sign up for this webinar that Andrew and Pete are holding, but also making it easy to read on each network. So symbols on Facebook, line breaks on Twitter, stuff like that can make a really big difference in the ease of readability for people. Let's move on here to LinkedIn. So, long story short, with LinkedIn, your brand really needs to distribute content on LinkedIn. A lot of people think of it as just a lead generation in order to find professionals within your community or find jobs. But it really is a community that's got a lot of thoughtful and informative content. And it's going to be the same concept that this content is going to replace those kind of antiquated, hard selling techniques and rather show the softer side of your brand and show them what they're really going to receive when they sign up for your brand or for your service or when they purchase your product. So same kind of concepts of being consistent to post really discussion worthy topics on LinkedIn to grab people's attention and to be really visual still apply to LinkedIn. One of the things that I really like to think about on LinkedIn is from Neil Patel, and how he describes LinkedIn is thinking about is it's not about how many followers you have, it's about the influence that you have over these followers. So he has a great analogy where he says, pretend you're sitting around a table with all your followers on LinkedIn. You obviously respect them, they are in your industry. And when it comes your time to speak, you really want to make sure you have something valuable to add to the discussion and you have some insights to share with them. You want to be seen as a person of influence to this group of colleagues you're sitting around the table with. So think of that when you're kind of thinking of your LinkedIn updates as well. You have something to say and something to add into the discussion here. And it should still be pretty conversational and follow those same social media trends. One of the coolest statistics that we found from LinkedIn is people really prefer positivity here as well. So, of the top 1,000 articles that are shared on social media, more than 2/3 of them did have a positive tone. And on LinkedIn, 88% of the top 100 articles had a positive sentiment. So, that's a nice little trick to start thinking about the tone that you should be using to reach the most people on LinkedIn is keep it really positive and keep it really conversational. And a great place to start if you're not so sure what to post on your company page yet, job posts, goals, new hires, any sort of accomplishments that your product or company has received, product updates, and blog content. All of these are going to lead to some great consistent updates for you to share. Cool. So, job posts. Let's jump into this first on LinkedIn. It is going to be one of the awesome ways that you're able to show your culture. So, we talk a lot on our LinkedIn page about how our culture has been developed, especially being a remote company here at Edgar. So, think about ways that this can add value to get that behind the scenes, get to know your team. And LinkedIn is going to be the perfect place to share more of this compared to maybe then your Facebook and Twitter feeds. So, think about all of the content you have related to your company's culture and how you can tailor that then into LinkedIn updates to get a little bit more out there to show that behind the scenes-ness. Show your thought leadership on LinkedIn as well. We really want to make sure that people who are there are going to see you as an expert in your industry. And it's okay to get really niche with this. So, John Nemo here is a really great LinkedIn expert, and he's speaking directly to people who are looking to get LinkedIn needs. That doesn't mean his entire audience has this goal in mind when they're following him. It just means he knows that this update might speak directly to someone. So don't be afraid to niche it down and speak to a smaller segment of your audience, especially on LinkedIn, who is going to find this super valuable when they're following you. So my greatest suggestion here when you're sharing your thought leadership is to not be too focused on it speaking to everyone in your audience. But if you have something to say on a specific topic, share it on LinkedIn and really niche it down. And LinkedIn is the perfect network to do this on. Share your team on LinkedIn. Love this post from Salesforce, really giving some behind the scenes into their culture, as well as giving you some kind of face and name recognition here on who is behind their company. So don't be afraid to talk to the rest of your team about what they've done outside of work and how that can support your social media updates. Really mentioning people on your LinkedIn updates is great too, because people are then able to then go out and search for them on LinkedIn, learning a little bit more and giving a little more personality to your company. LinkedIn is also great for sharing jobs. People want to be helpful on social media. And if they have a friend who's looking for a job in your industry and they see your post, they'll be more likely to share that with their friend and really be seen as someone helpful. So don't be afraid to share your job posts, especially on LinkedIn, and think of ways that you can have your status update actually support your job posts here to give a little bit of a behind the scenes on your culture. Again, if someone isn't looking for a job right now, this is a great way that Nike is able to share their collaborative culture as well as their passion behind their product, supporting not only someone who's looking for a job, but also supporting that idea that brand values matter. So think about how you can get creative about getting a bunch of things. Definitely start sharing your job posts on LinkedIn as a way to get more brand awareness. Lastly, here, awards are huge. Don't forget bragging about your team on social media is a great thing to do too. You guys spend so much time on your small businesses that making sure people know what and why you are out there is really going to strengthen the bond with your community. So love this update from Canva here. Really doing a shout out to their entire team that's been awarded for the hard work they did on their app here. So when things like this happens, don't be shy about sharing them. And LinkedIn's a great place to add this status update to get a little bit of a visual in here too. So if you have an award that's linked somewhere, maybe take a screenshot of that award and add it in as an image to your LinkedIn posts to make it a really great feed. Cool. So let's move on here to Facebook. Now, a lot of times, I'm sure you've heard, there are a lot of funny sayings out there. One of them being that it's easier to get into Harvard than to get into someone's Facebook newsfeed. And that's because Facebook really does have so many people and pages out there competing for attention. If you're not on social media yet, definitely make sure that you are looking into Facebook. It is kind of the place that the majority of your followers will be looking to learn more about your brand. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to set up great Facebook pages here. 90.2% of all social media link sharing has been done on Facebook as well. So it's a network you want to make sure you're focusing on getting your best blog posts out there and making sure that they're seen by the majority of your followers. MeetEdgar is great for this because you can reshare your links and reshare your evergreen content. A lot of our clients will go ahead and create a separate category and load up some of their most popular blog posts into this category, having them reshare on a cadence, maybe a little bit more than all of your blog posts, making sure your greatest value gets out to the majority of your members at different times throughout the day. Again, if you have questions on this workflow or setup, let us know. Support@meetedgar.com. We'd love to chat with you about that. Facebook is also great for creating groups and partnerships. Like I mentioned before, Edgar has tagging back in, so make sure you're tagging people if you're sharing other people's content on Facebook. Great place to start. I really want to stress a video on Facebook. It is what their algorithm is loving right now. And if it's what the algorithm loves, it's what's going to show up in the most people's news feeds. So think about how you can turn any of your content into video these days. And I think you'll see your reach really be quite increased. People do want consistency on Facebook if they're following your brand. Remember, they've taken the time to do that. So consistently showing up for them with some of these tips is going to be a great thing to do. So engagement on Facebook. Engagement is going to be one of the biggest things that helps your post show up in people's news feeds. So when you're asking questions on Facebook, make sure that you're giving people the way they can answer. I love the status update over here on the left because it allows you to easily say, oh, you know what? I like dress 2 and 11, rather than having to think about, I like the dress with the polka dots as your answer. So when you're asking questions to produce and spark some engagement on Facebook, get creative with it and think about how you can have the easiest way people will answer, and that'll produce quite a bit more comments in that section. And if you see a post like this do really well, I'd love for to encourage that consistency aspect that we were just talking about and how you can then add this in as maybe like a weekly thing where you can every Monday or every Tuesday show up with that question for your followers, and they can get excited about what they're going to answer and what they're going to learn about that week. So definitely pay attention to which posts are getting engagement, which questions are being answered to inform your future status updates. Cool. Video, again, if you have a product that's hard to use or that needs some explaining, don't be afraid to jump on in and do some video, especially on Facebook. One of the things that we like to do with our video is go ahead and hop on a Facebook Live that introduces your blog post. You can see our founder, Laura, here going ahead and doing that. And it's a great way that you're able to get another valuable piece of content about this blog post out there. And it's also, again, that behind the scenes, seeing her face and getting that community connection going on. So make sure you're thinking about ways you can upcycle that content you have into producing some great video here. Next, if you are producing video, we do want you to remember that almost all social media video is auto-played on mute. So Facebook does have a caption feature that I'd love for you to check out if you're adding video updates. Super simple to use, and adding captions might sound kind of tedious, but I would definitely encourage you to edit your videos, check out the internal tool Facebook has for adding these captions so that the video makes sense when people are scrolling through their feed with their sound on mute, and they can still get that valuable content you're offering. Cool. So hashtags don't really have a huge searchability on Facebook like they might on your Instagrams or your Twitters, but that doesn't mean you can't tailor hashtags to work on Facebook too. I love this Tough Mudder post here because it shows people exactly how they want you to use their hashtag. So when you're using hashtags on Facebook, make sure that you're really giving people the ability to see, oh, that's how they want me to use it, and use these hashtags to create some community. So run a contest, cross-promote it on all your social networks, and don't be afraid to do that on Facebook as well. Just know they're not going to be as searchable, and they're more going to be kind of tone and community creating here. Facebook groups, huge on social media right now. It's, again, creating that social in social media. And I want you to make sure, if you guys do have a Facebook group and you're posting updates, that you are the one that's going to go on in and break the ice. You want to make sure that you are giving people the ability to engage with you in a way they know how. So love this post here. You can see this Modern Dog Owners is saying, you know what? Hey, just post a picture of your dog and introduce yourself. How simple. Everyone loves to see dogs. Everyone loves to share their dogs. And it gives that icebreaker the ability that you don't have to go in and think of something to say. So again, think of prompts, think of ways you can create discussions, and go ahead and add in a visual asking your members to do this. Behind the scenes content is huge on Facebook. So this is Mari Smith. She is a Facebook expert. If you haven't checked her out as an influencer, definitely do. She offers a ton of awesome advice for the community. And this is a great example. We'll go through how she goes ahead and produces her content from this affiliate summit on each network. So on Facebook, she'll do a great Facebook Live video giving you a behind the scenes of what she's doing, as well as some great knowledge bombs being dropped about what she's learning. And then, as the video is not going to be as huge on Twitter or as long on Twitter, she's going to introduce these same concepts on Twitter with a slide deck here, still offering who she is, what she's about, tweeting out that she's at this great conference. And you can see here her call to action is pretty clear in the tweet to message her to get the slides and to get all of that great content. So even if you don't have the ability to share that Facebook Live on Twitter, still think how you can customize and make sure your updates are providing value to your Twitter community to know who you are and where you're at. Lastly here, how she does this for Instagram. Instagram does allow videos, so she's going to go ahead and produce that behind the scenes concept here on Instagram, showing a video of her talk. So you can see same talk, 3 different shares tailored for each network. So think about, again, the ways you can do this on your own, thinking about the ways you can add in status updates to support all 3 networks there. Last one here, Instagram. We are going to be adding an Instagram to MeetEdgar shortly here. So definitely get excited and start thinking about joining in. We'll definitely update the community when this has gone live. But Instagram gives you a lot of opportunities to experiment and play around with what works best as well. Jumping into hashtags on Instagram is really great. Doing theme posts like Throwback Thursdays and sharing contents is a really great way to get started on Instagram. It also has introduced the ability to add up to 10 images and videos in a single post on Instagram. So this is a huge, huge feature add for you to be able to share all types of your products, to be able to share all types of behind the scenes content from your team. So definitely take advantage of that feature as well. Instagram does allow you to share blog posts, but it's going to be a little bit of a different tone as well, being able to link people in the bio, and we'll look at some of those examples. But no, Instagram is going to be a very curated network as well. It has the feature to be able to add in stories, which are going to be a little less curated content, more behind the scenes. But when you're doing your picture updates or your quotes on Instagram, people are really looking for some awesome visual content. So you want to make sure the photos and everything you're sharing are really tailored to that. So look in here, this is a post from MeetEdgar on our Instagram, and you can see here that we have some line breaks to make this a little bit easier to read. So the first paragraph, some line breaks introducing it. If you've ever written an Instagram post, you might notice when you hit return, it actually doesn't produce these line breaks. So tailoring your content when you are adding it to Instagram, you can do this simply by opening an app like Notes on your phone or computer, going ahead and writing the update there, and then copying it and pasting it into Instagram. And those will go ahead and allow those line breaks to exist. So thinking about different ways you can chop up the content, similar to how we chatted about on Twitter and Facebook, to give people an easy and not have it be a huge block of text there. Again, that link in bio that we went ahead and mentioned, Instagram won't allow you to actually put in that blog post link URL right there. So a great way to get around this is to go ahead and let people know, hey, I've updated the bio link that I have in my Instagram here. And if you click there, you're able to get this resource we're offering. So tailored a little bit differently when you are sharing that content. Again, for Instagram, we were talking about sharing blog posts here. You might not have a graphic that'll work perfectly for your blog post, and it's not generated like a Twitter card or Facebook preview, but you can still think of ways that you can get that kind of title and description to be supported with your Instagram posts. So here you can see you can simply just create a graphic like on Canva, go ahead and add in your title, a little bit of a description here, and still have that supported with your status update. It'll do the heavy lifting for you, so don't freak out if you're not a designer, but you can still produce visuals to support your blog content. It doesn't always have to be pictures of people on Instagram either. Instagram is a great place to start sharing contests as well. So if you are sharing contests quite a bit, make sure you're doing the great hashtags and make sure you're giving all of that information, as well as, again, producing a really awesome stellar visual to go along with it. This specific post here can be then taken and tailored a little bit for your other updates. You can see here we can tailor this giveaway then to be an actual Twitter card, so people can click through to this and still get the same information about the giveaway on Twitter. So again, thinking about how you can tailor each update there. And lastly, here on Facebook, again, sharing this same contest with a little bit more information than on Twitter, as we have those more characters, tagging people to create that community, giving them the link right there. So tailoring this, but still keeping each update in support of this contest on each network. Cool. So I want to kind of end here on thinking about the ways you can really get ideas for each network, and that's by seeking out influencers as well. So you can see Jenna here. She is an awesome Instagram influencer who's really great at sharing vulnerable content and getting that behind the scenes stuff going on social media. So go ahead and look at people in each network's community to get an idea of what's working. So Jenna here is going to share things like quotes on Instagram quite a bit in order to show her personality. And this update here goes along with what her community expects from her on Instagram, are these long form posts that are really great at being vulnerable and showing who she is in support of this quote. Now, taking this post and tailoring it a little bit for Twitter, say, you're not going to have room to be as vulnerable and to have that long form update on your Twitter account here. So she's going to shorten this a little bit, but still giving her personality and that nice short status update there, as well as a great graphic. And quotes are going to be awesome, easy to create, super shareable on social media, and they're typically universally understood as a great piece of social media content. So sharing it not only on her Instagram, where she knows her community will appreciate it, but on other social networks is a great strategy for Jenna. Going a little bit further, if she shares this on Facebook, you can use language here that's Facebook specific. So thinking about the ways that people talk about it, she's saying, click if you're with me on this, click like if you're with me on this, wouldn't make as much sense on Twitter or Instagram. So think about your status updates and the language you're using, but still being able to share things like quotes on all of these networks. Cool. So now that we talked a lot about the types of updates and tailoring them, let's take a quick peek at each network's actual pages. So each of these things, not many people are actually going to go to your page as their first introduction to you. But if they do go to your page, make sure that you have it tailored to a way that actually supports your goals as well. So going through that why exercise we did at the beginning, if your primary goal is to go ahead and get people into your sales funnel or to get people to sign up for your service, the button on your page, maybe sign up, does make sense. But you can actually go ahead and click this button here if you're logged into your Facebook page, and you can see the ability there that it says edit button. You can actually change the language that is on this button in order to support your goals. So think about the words that make most sense when people click that button, where they'll be directed to, and really tailor it to support it. Next, when you are editing your page here, you can get different themes in Facebook these days too. So again, if you don't have a designer and you go to your settings on your Facebook page, check out some of their themes so you can really make sure that the page is matching your brand colors, so that again, people have that really great instant recognition of what and who your brand is. And you don't want to neglect the ability to customize how your page shows up too. In your Facebook settings on your page, you can actually go ahead and move around what's going to show first, whether it's your photos or your events or anything like that. Thinking about if you never schedule events, probably doesn't make much sense for that events bar to be first. So definitely go on in, slide around, and see what makes sense for how you're setting your page up. Cool. So LinkedIn, again, not just for a professional network to find a job these days. It is a great way to go ahead and drive more brand awareness and engage your audience. If people are actually going to your LinkedIn page as well, let's make sure it's set up for them to really get the best experience too. So we want to make sure that your logo image is going to always be spec compliant, of course. So you can see down here in the bottom left-hand corner, 300 pixels by 300 pixels is going to lead to the best logo image clarity there. And then your cover image can be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit bigger, and it's going to give you the ability to show your personality quite a bit more. I like to think of the custom cover photo as a way that you can show off your actual brand personality, because we want your logo to be instantly recognizable. So think about ways you can get a little bit more creative with the cover photo. You can do things in Photoshop and you can do things in Canva to still support doing the actual cover photo and not just your status updates too. When you're doing your LinkedIn page, make sure you spend a good amount of time thinking about your About Us section. And this is because this is going to be like an elevator pitch. Within 30 seconds, your reader should really understand what the heck your company is about. And you want to cater your description to your audience and make sure that it's really approachable and really practical for anyone to find. So avoid using any jargon or something long-winded, and say it straight and say it so people can really understand what and who you're about. We also want to make sure you're incorporating relevant keywords into your company description here. And that's because when people are actually searching, keywords in your description will produce actual search results in LinkedIn. So think of some of the common keywords you can use to go ahead and add into your elevator pitch here. Let's go ahead and look at Twitter now. Twitter does allow for one link and a small profile picture in your bio. So this, again, goes along with Twitter's norms of staying nice and short and sweet. So you do have a limited time and just a few seconds on your actual Twitter page to convince people to follow you and to convince people that you're an influencer in the community and that your brand is really important for them to pay attention to. So make sure you're thinking about why people should follow you and how you can say that in a couple of sentences on your Twitter bio. So you can see here that your Twitter bio will be that one over on the left. So think about the link you want to direct people to as well. We're cross-promoting right now. You can see in our bio a link to our Facebook page. So it's a great way to get followers from Twitter to know we're on Facebook and to go ahead and check us out there. You could lead that to a blog post or a sign-up page, anything that makes sense for your About Us section there. If you're having trouble kind of coming up with ideas, again, make sure you're going out there and searching what really popular people on each network are doing themselves. And this can really help you spark some creativity and see what's working well for others out there. We've got your specs down here, 160 characters for your bio, so keeping it nice and short and sweet. Profile photo, 400 by 400 for your logo there. And your header photo, 1500 by 500 pixels will produce the best quality there. If you need these specs at a later date, all of these slides will be on our SlideShare account on LinkedIn after the webinar, or of course, email support@meetedgar.com. So I just want to leave you here today a little bit with some last thoughts here that we want to make sure you have the confidence that you're going out on each of these social networks and really connecting with your community. We think the best part of some of these stats that you see here are that people are really connecting on social media. 77% of people follow at least one brand on social media. That's an awesome number. 56% of people unfollow a brand for posting salesy or boring content. That's not an awesome number. So we want to make sure you know that being on social media as a brand has huge benefits. So make sure you're giving your followers a lot of great tailored information so they continue to want to follow you and continue to want to go ahead and have that connection to increase that all important know, like, and trust factor. So it increases the ability and likelihood they'll purchase from you in the future. Because remember, social media is all about creating these warm leads and these touch points in order to engage with your brand. If you here with one other thought that, again, we want to make sure that you're doing social media right, whether you're using Edgar or not, that you are always setting aside time to engage with your audience. Edgar makes this so easy because you're able to load up your content library and have that automation work. So you can then take the time to jump on in and respond to your followers and have that direct communication and engage with your followers in real time so that you can show them that you're there and show them what your brand can do for them. Last but not least here, really appreciate you joining in the webinar today. And no matter how you think of it, love this photo that I snapped at a donut shop the other day. Each social network does have different ways of talking on it. So if you need ideas, reach out to support@meetedgar.com and we can talk you through a little bit more. Let us know in the comment section on this video, on this YouTube stream, what you'd like to learn in future webinars. We are super interested in hearing about it. MeetEdgar has some really great new features coming out. Like I mentioned, we're working on building Instagram support in. We got Facebook tagging and Facebook groups up and running. And we have a lot of ways that we're looking to make our variations feature a lot more automated for Twitter. So definitely check in. Let us know if you're looking for something specific. We have a lot of cool things that we would love to chat with you about. Support@meetedgar.com if you are looking to get in contact with us. And if you don't have an Edgar account yet, remember that coupon code is going to be Octopus Webinar 18 to snag your free month. So like I said, guys, thanks so much for joining today. And really just remembering that you don't have to create one size fits all content all the time. You want to know your audience and your platform and what's